I take the gauze off. And this bitch did not pierce my f***ing nipple. She... Alright, so are you ready to hear the most horrific horror story pertaining to my nips? This is a nipple piercing horror story, and if you are currently considering getting your girls pierced or your boys pierced, or you're considering getting these piercings, I suggest maybe don't watch this because I feel like it might scare you away. But if you're looking for a video that might convince you to do it, then you should watch my nipple piercing pros and cons video. Just not this one. Don't watch this one. Alright, so I'm going to be telling you a nipple piercing horror story. This is a true story. This happened to me. I got my girlies pierced 3 different times. 3 different times, and the first 2 times were really bad. The second one was horrible. The first one was... But yeah, before I get started, make sure to like and subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and let's go. Alright, so I got my nipples pierced, I think in 2015 or 2016. I've always wanted to do it, I just never had the cojones, the balls, until my friend Christina called me up and was like, girl, let's just go do it. She's very persuasive. You might know her from this video. But yeah, she convinced me the first time. We make our way to the piercing shop, and this should have been a clear sign that maybe we shouldn't have gotten our nipples pierced with this person, but you know, we didn't know at the time. You know, if I knew, I wouldn't have done it. But listen, we get to the piercing shop, and just like any other piercing shop, you have to pay before you get the piercing. So we paid, and they were like, no refunds, which just adds to my anxiety. Like, I'm already very nervous to get this piercing, and then when they put the pressure of like, well, no refunds, it's kind of just like... Anyways, the piercer decides to tell us that he just started working here and this specific shop doesn't allow him to use clamps, and he doesn't like doing these piercings without clamps. Which, looking back, like I said, maybe I should have taken that as a sign to not get my nipples pierced here, but you know, I didn't, and I decided to go first. Christina went second. We go home and everything's fine, right? We're happy, we're excited, we're like, oh my god, brand new piercings. It wasn't until about 6 to 8 weeks later, which is like the time it takes for your girls to heal, that I realized this mother pierced our nipples with 18 gauge jewelry. 18 gauge is like what you put up here, your ear piercings. 18 gauge is not what you put in your f***ing nipples. You're supposed to pierce your nipples with 14 gauge needle, right? Because all of the jewelry comes in 14 gauge. So you can imagine my surprise when I ordered this beautiful, cool looking jewelry. I don't remember what it was, but it was like really cool. I was so excited. I go take off my jewelry, go to put my brand new one, and it doesn't fit. You know how shitty that is to think that you're about to like walk out and be the baddest bitch with your brand new jewelry and you can't even f***ing fit it in the hole because it's just not the right size?
That's what she said.
And there's no way in hell that I'm about to gauge my nipple. I just don't have it in me. Like, I already felt like passing out doing it because I'm a little bitch. But yeah, that sucked and I was very disappointed. But the silver lining was that Christina was also on the same boat as me, so like, you know, it's always good when you're in a shitty position and your friend is also in a shitty position, so you both can just be shitty together. Just kidding. I ended up keeping the tiny little 18 gauge for I think another year. Eventually one of them fell off and then I took the other one off because I didn't like the look of just having one. And then I was nipple ring free for like I think maybe 2 years until... This is where the horror story starts, by the way. Until one day I decide to go to a party and I'm having such a good time at the party. All of a sudden I look up and there's this girl on top of the table wilding out, and she decides to flash the entire crowd, and I look and I'm just like, are those nipple rings? And immediately I am getting nostalgic because I'm like, oh my god, that used to be me. I used to have beautiful nipple rings. I was like, I need to get them pierced tonight. Like, I need them and I'm not waiting, I'm getting them tonight. So I convinced my friend to drive me to the closest 24-hour open late night piercing shop, which looking back, that was probably where I f***ed up. I should have gone to a reputable shop, but you know, you don't know in the moment. You don't know when you just don't know.
If I knew that this was gonna be the outcome, like, I would have never done something like this, but you
you don't know when you're in the moment, and like.
So we get there and it's a lady. She's like, yeah, we can pierce it. And I tell her specifically, I'm like, is this 14 gauges? I've had it before. The guy pierced it with an 18 gauge. Like, you're gonna do it with the right gauge. She's like, oh my god, of course. And I'm expecting her to take me to a room to go get it pierced. She doesn't do that. She decides to pierce me in front of everyone. There's no room, there's no privacy, which again should have been a sign, but I was just
clown. That's clown shit.
I was just so excited to get them re-pierced. I didn't really, you know, I guess care. So she pierces the first one and it was so fucking painful. The first time that I got them pierced, it was painful, but it wasn't like fucking, I don't know, I felt like my boob was on fire. It was so painful this second time around. And in my head, I'm just like, oh, maybe it's because of like scar tissue or like, I don't know. I was just like trying to justify why it was so painful, but I should have known why it was so painful. And I'll tell you why later. She pierces the second one. The second one was fine. It wasn't as painful as the first one. But in my head, I was just like, maybe I'm just so focused on the first pain that I didn't feel the second pain. I don't know. She ends up putting gauze. I think that's what it's called. Like, she covers them up and she tapes them because it keeps bleeding. Like, it is bleeding a lot. And I've gotten a bunch of piercings. By the way, if you want to see all of the piercings I got, you should check out this video. But I've gotten several piercings in my life and I always bleed. I just, you know, I bleed a lot when I get piercings, and I bled a lot when I got the first one, but nowhere near as much as I did this second time. Like, the guy did not have to put any gauze on me the first time, and she had to put a bunch. And I didn't really understand it, but I was like, okay, whatever, maybe, you know, it happens. And yeah, we leave. I got gauze on my boobs and my friend decides, you know, we should go to the club. Like, we shouldn't just end the night here. And I'm like, down, let's do it. So we go to the club, and as soon as I get to the club, my boob is on fire. It's like somebody lit a match on my tit. It is burning, and I just don't understand why, because I've gotten this piercing before. I've never had this issue. So I go to the bathroom, I take a look at my boob, and I am bleeding through my bra. And mind you, I wear the bombshell bra. If you don't know what that is, you should pause this video, open up a new tab, and look up the thickness of a bombshell bra. My nipple was bleeding through the thickness. Like, the bombshell it's kind of like a bulletproof vest. Like, it is thick.
That's what she said.
And mind you, I was wearing a white shirt that day, and there was no way I could have stayed at the club because I was seconds away from just bleeding through this shirt. So I was like, I need to get home. Something is wrong. Like, I don't know what's going on. So I go home and I'm like preparing myself to see what is going on with this nipple, because the other one is not bleeding. The other one is fine. I feel like she put a gauze on it just to like make it look like that this is normal. I take the gauze off, and this bitch did not pierce my nipple. She pierced, like, okay, just to give you like a visualization. You know how like your nipple, a nipple piercing is supposed to go like this, like at the bottom. It's supposed to be like a nice little cross. You know what she did? She pierced it as if it was a belly button. She pierced it like this. This is the nipple. Obviously, this is not an accurate size, but she pierced it like this. It did not go through. It was halfway through. It felt like at any second I make the wrong move and I was just gonna rip my skin apart, or it was just gonna migrate off, or I don't know. It was just wrong. And then I looked at the other one, and the other one was perfect. The other one was just like, whoop, perfect gauge, perfect. Like, I don't know how she killed it with one and then like botched the shit out of the other one. I don't know how that happened. And before you're like, well girl, how did you not notice? In my defense, I want to remind you that I was not like in a private room. I was in the piercing shop with like other people. And I think I was more concerned with making sure no one was videotaping and looking around rather than focused on what she was doing. I trusted her, and anyways, I couldn't keep that on. That was just ridiculous. I was scared that I was gonna fall asleep and like roll over and my nipple was gonna go flying. So I immediately took it off. I should have gone back to her, but it was already so late, and I don't know, I just didn't want to. Like, I just wouldn't want to get it re-pierced with her. I never ended up going back. Instead, what I did was let it close, and then a few weeks later, I went with my friend Sam, and she decided to get hers done. I decided to get my one done, and it came out perfect. The guy knew what he was doing, and it was actually super painless. But yeah, that is my nipple horror story. So I guess what I would recommend to you guys is to pay attention when they're piercing it, make sure they're using the right gauge. If you don't know what the gauge is, it's supposed to be 14. If you are bleeding like an abnormal amount and they put a gauze on, maybe you should rip that off and check to make sure that, you know, you don't end up like me, like a clown. Anyways, I still recommend the piercing. I think they're great, and like I mentioned before, I made a whole video talking about the pros and cons of this piercing. So if you're interested in that, definitely check it out. If you have a piercing horror story, you should definitely let me know in the comments so I feel better about myself. But yeah, make sure to like and subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and I will see you in my next video.